Ladies and gentlemen, Vidyaniketan Group of Institutions welcomes you to yet another season of India Insight. Envisioned by Mrs. Prema Rajagopal, the founder of this institution, way back in 2004, the objective ever since has been to enhance the knowledge of India and appreciate the diverse culture of this nation. As our young children take part from various corners of the world, over the last couple of years in the digital avatar, this contest has reached over 20,000 students across 10 countries. We at the Vidyaniketan Group of Institutions truly appreciate and acknowledge the support and patronage given to us by all the participating schools, their teachers and managements. Before we begin, it is our pleasure and privilege to invite a leader in school education, a person who's a strong advocate of co-scholastic learning. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dean Academics at Vidyaniketan, Miss Sumitra Raghavan.
Good day, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. On behalf of Vidyaniketan Public School, let me extend a warm welcome to all you students for the India Insight World Debating Competition. Children, you are a part of a generation where communication holds the key to progress and prosperity. With the new education policy, which advocates that school children should be creative, collaborative, and expressive, it is our endeavor to create a platform for high school students to express themselves convincingly and eloquently on matters related to our country, India. In its 75th year of independence, it is truly our wish that facts and figures, ideas and ideologies of India are brought to the fore in such debating competitions. As you traverse the various rounds of the debating competition, where many of your co-contestants get eliminated, while some of you inch towards the grand finale, you will be engaged in a battle of words that enables you to put forth your views and thoughts for and against the topic. It is a matter of pride for us at Vidyaniketan that such a large number of students from schools spread across India and overseas have been motivated to participate in this debate, which only goes to prove that our VPS banner is something that has set a standard, a benchmark, and created a reputation for itself in events of this magnitude. As you enter the crucial semi-final stage of the debate competition, I wish you all the best. Let the war of words begin, and may the best speaker win.
Before we progress any further, let us introduce you to your host, the young and charismatic Rashmi Furtado. An alumnus of the prestigious NITK Surathkal, she went on to become the only professional woman quiz host across Asia that she presently is. The co-founder of TeacherTribe.world, she has many a feather in her large hat. From co-hosting Tata Crucible to being the first woman to host a quiz show in Kuwait, she's also hosted programs in Singapore and Dubai. Business World rated her as 40 under 40 for content creators. She was also conferred the iconic woman for creating a better world for all from the Women Economic Forum. Time for us to get started. Please welcome your host, Miss Rashmi Furtado.
Hello and a warm welcome to each and every one of you to the third semi-final of India Inside Debate Young India Speaks, brought to you by Vidyaniketan Group of Institutions. What started as a quiz in 2004 has now extended to a debate and a drawing contest. And this is a significant year for this extension because we celebrate 75 years of Indian independence. Late Mrs. Prema Rajagopal, a founding member of Vidyaniketan, she had a vision and a dream to engage and educate our Indian students and young children more about India and in a positive manner. She wished to do so by engaging them in activities and contests such as these. We are really happy and glad that her vision and dream has become a reality and it keeps growing every year. While this initially started as an event that was limited to Bangalore, the digital platform has enabled us to move it beyond geographies. From Bangalore, it moved to a national level event, and from the national level event, today we have students taking part from international locations. The India Inside debate, Young India Speaks, this is the very first time that we're conducting this debate, and we really hope this continues to be a tradition. Today we have our 4 semi-finalists with us. We have had students taking part from length and breadth of our country, and like I mentioned earlier, from international locations as well. These children have submitted their entries for the prelim and then made it through to this semi-final. There were some very strict judging parameters that they had to go through, and then they have made it through to this semi-final. Let me quickly introduce them to you, and then we will get into the semi-final itself. All right. First up, we have Samikya Pandya from the Aryan International School. So Samikya is from grade 11 and she hails from Varanasi. Moving on, our second semi-finalist for the day is Tanisha Sinha from Sri Kumaran Children's Home, Bengaluru. Tanisha is also from grade 11. Following Tanisha is our Shruti from Padma Seshadri Bal Bhavan, Chennai. Shruti is from grade 10, and completing our lineup here today is Sanjana Bhatt from Padma Seshadri Bal Bhavan, Chennai again. Sanjana is from class 9. Well, we have really capable semi-finalists with us here today, and we definitely require an eminent jury to ensure that we select the correct winner. And we have such jury with us here today. Our first jury member, Ms. Sharon Daniel, she's joining us. She is from Bangalore and she's joined us here today. And we have Mr. Dharmendra Satpathy, who has joined us from Mumbai. I'll of course give a detailed introduction of both of them a little later. For now, let's get into the first round of this semi-final, India Inside Young India Speaks, round 1. Here we go. In this round, ladies and gentlemen, as the title suggests, the contestants have to introduce themselves in 30 seconds. But of course, they have to keep the context in mind. India Inside is the event, and they have to interpret how they see themselves as a citizen of India and then introduce themselves. Let's start with Samikya. Samikya, your 30 seconds of time. Go ahead.
I, Samikya Panda, a citizen of this nation, am a student of the 11th standard of the Aryan International School, Varanasi. I believe the heart is an arrow and it demands aim to land true. Hence, I prioritize my goals and work hard towards fulfilling them. I believe in smiling and making others smile as I move ahead in the journey of becoming a perfectionist in life, for my country and for my nation. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Samikya. She stuck to the 30 seconds. That's amazing. Let's move on to our second contestant here today, Tanisha Sinha from Sri Kumaran Children's Home. Tanisha, your 30 seconds of time starting now.
Hi, Tanisha Sinha, a citizen of India. I'm someone who believes that the most important quality in a person is integrity, and the capability to stand up for themselves. And I feel that every young Indian should believe in themselves and do what they think is right. As an individual, I am creative and athlete, and I believe that I have the capacity to lead people one day. I am also a people person, but I adore dogs. So, as my contribution to give back to the society, I help in rescue and adoption of young indie pups. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanisha. Well, I already like you. I adore dogs myself. So you're already in my, the list of people whom I like a lot. Moving on to Shruti from Padma Seshadri. Shruti, your 30 seconds of time starting now.
I, Shruti, a citizen of India, am a patriot, concerned about the well-being of the nation, and I wish to work towards the development of the country in any possible way. I also have a fervent interest for essaying and debating, and to further hone my skills in the art, I wanted to participate in this competition. I'm a very motivated person, and I hope to achieve my dreams. Thank you.
Thank you, Shruti. And completing this round for us is Sanjana Bhatt from Padma Seshadri Bal Bhavan. Sanjana, your 30 seconds of time, go ahead.
I, Sanjana Bhatt, a citizen of India and all of 14 years, am a bundle of contradictions. Loving Harry Potter as much as the Bhagavad Gita, loving to juggle through the bustling Chennai bazaars as much as ambling through the swanky shopping malls, relishing paneer as much as my grandmother's Dadi Anna, and enjoying the Bollywood baritones as much as the Carnatic Kapi. In short, a true-blood citizen of a country synonymous with magnificent diversities. Today, as the ensuing cacophony of free expression will prove testament to India's democracy, I hope to showcase young India as a model of accountability, integrity, and responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjana. Well, ladies and gentlemen, they have only introduced themselves, and I can already see that our judges are going to have a tough time figuring out who is going to make it through to that grand finale that's coming up. Let me remind you at this point in time that only the winner from this semi-final will make it through to the final. We have 4 semi-finals and 1 winner each from every semi-final will make it through to that big finale that's coming up. Let's now move on to the second round of the semi-final. India Inside Young India Speaks on your screens now. Point of view, or your point of view, is what we want to know. There is I will give you a topic. You have about a minute's time to speak on this topic, okay? First, let me set the context for you. The context coming up on your screen. If you were the Prime Minister of India, which one of these would you adopt as your topmost priority and why? Okay? So this is the context with which you have to interpret, or you have to choose the coming up topics. Here they are. The topics on your screen, you have 8 topics here. I would request you all to not repeat the topics from what the previous person has spoken. Okay, there are 8 topics, there are a lot of choices. So ensure that you pick a unique one for yourself, and you have to interpret the topic based on the context that I've already set. You have a minute's time to do so. All right, our first contestant for this round would be Sanjana Bhatt. Sanjana, what topic would you choose?
I have picked the topic gender equality.
Gender equality, and you have a minute's time to speak on the topic. Remember the context. Do not move away from the context that has been set. You have 1 minute of time. Go ahead, Sanjana.
If I were the Prime Minister of this country, I would prioritize gender equality as one of the first issues that I would solve. Is it not sad that while over half of the country's population is female, they unjustly receive an unfair balance in life from conception? I hope to see that as long as the girl child is seen as liability enough to practice female feticide and skew the male-female ratio to the extent that my government starts a Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao movement, as long as there is the invisible glass ceiling caused by discrimination that prevents women from rising to the highest levels of organizations, as long as products marketed specifically for women cost more than those marketed for men, as long as women, be it on the cricket team, show business, or corporate houses, receive lower remuneration offers than men, as long as they have to fight to show that they are not the weaker sex and should also be heard and not just seen. In short, as long as whatever women do, they should do twice as well as men to be thought of half as good. So long, I hope to overcome all the issues that are prevalent in society today. Why is it that we still do not see gender as a spectrum, but as 2 sets of opposite ideals? Thank you.
Thank you, Sanjana. She stuck to the minute's time and gave a lot of points and very valid points in that minute's time. Well, sometimes even 60 seconds is good enough to put forth your point. Let's now move on to Shruti. Shruti, what topic would you want to pick?
I would like to pick quality education.
Quality education. All right, Shruti, you have a minute's time. Go ahead.
Education is a right for every Indian citizen, and it is very, very important that everyone is educated. At least the basic literacy is very important for them to excel in life.
All right. Thank you, Shruti. That was short and sweet. I think sometimes less than 60 seconds are also good enough to put forth your points. Thank you, Shruti, on that one. And our third contestant for this round is Tanisha. Tanisha, what topic would you want to pick?
Good health and well-being.
Good health and well-being. And you have a minute's time. Keep the context in mind. Your 1 minute of time starting now.
If I were the Prime Minister of India, I would prioritize good health and well-being of all the citizens. This is because of, if you look around, most of the teenagers these days, as well as the middle-aged people, they're found to be more sad and depressed about their lives. And this is indirectly affecting the productivity of this nation. So I would prioritize and take actions which would improve this. Good health by providing organic food, which would ensure that the longevity of the person is increased, encouraging people and also setting programs in place that would encourage people to go out, do more physical exercises, which would not only improve their blood circulation, but also release hormones in their brains, which would make them feel good. And most importantly, prioritizing mental health. Mental health is one of the biggest stigmas in the world right now. And by prioritizing them, by making therapy more accessible and not as a taboo, by providing more work holidays and by taking actions and making it okay to prioritize mental health, I want to advocate that health is not just in body, but also in mind. And good health is going to lead to good productivity, which is going to boost this nation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tanisha. Connecting good health and well-being to progress and productivity of a nation is what she did. And our last contestant for this round, Samikya, what topic would you want to pick?
I would like to pick clean water and sanitation.
Clean water and sanitation. Remember the context. You have a minute's time. Go ahead.
If I were the Prime Minister of India, I would surely work towards making India's water clean and working towards sanitation in India. Health is wealth, as we all know it. But not everyone have the access to good nutrition and water to maintain that health. We have 70% of our body composed of water. And yet, in India, sadly, not every community, tribe, nation and even city people have the access to clean drinking water. With increasing rates in pollution, it makes it immensely difficult to make clean water available to everyone. So I would really like to make water clean and also work towards sanitation. Girls and boys do not have access to clean toilets, sanitary pads, and many other public toilet amenities that are required for a citizen. It is a citizen's right to be able to have clean drinking water and sanitation, and once a person has all these, they can work towards making a better health and work harder in their goals and aspirations rather than taking care of any other aspect that might disturb them in the process towards making a better nation and a better country. Jai Hind. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Samikya. Very, very reasonable points put forth by all of them here today. Let's now move on to the next round of this India Insight debate. Young India Speaks, brought to you by Vidyaniketan Group of Institutions. War of Words. Here we go. In this round, contestants, you'll have a topic that will show up on your screen. You have a minute's time to speak on this topic individually, and then you get 6 minutes of time to debate on this topic. I will not be moderating the debate at all. It's completely left to you on what direction you want to guide or lead the entire discussion towards. All right, let's have the topic on our screen. We, the people of India, propose to have uniforms at all workplaces. Like I said, they will first speak for a minute each, and then they have 6 minutes of time to debate on this topic. Let's start with Samikhya for this round. Samikhya, your minute's time starting now.
Suffer in the pain of discipline or suffer in the pain of regret, as it is rightly said. If wearing uniforms wasn't important, then so many organizations wouldn't propose to have uniforms. A kite, when in the hand of the flyer, is discipline. However, when the thread gets cut, it is left on its own to fly by the wind. Similarly, it is extensively important to remain attached to the strings of discipline and decorum and to wear uniforms in workplaces. Not only does wearing uniforms make people look more formal and neat, but also it helps in establishing equality amongst all bereft of their family status. However, such rules of wearing uniforms should be made tangible in every organization. Such as, in example, I would like to explain the fact that in the Indian Army, the Sikh and the Muslim communities are allowed to wear turbans and beard even though it is not a part of the uniform. Hence, abiding by the rules, but yet following their culture and integrity. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Samikhya. Following Samikhya would be Tanisha. Tanisha, your minute's time. Go ahead.
I strongly feel that having mandatory uniforms is not required at all workplaces. Besides certain exceptions like professions which involve situations where there's direct client interaction and where professions where the uniforms serve as a safety gear, a general dress code guideline which ensures that a formal work environment is maintained would do. Uniforms usually tend to be restrictive and not at all inclusive of the different sexual orientations and body types, and this can be countered by setting guidelines in place. By doing so, you are not only raising your employees' confidence by allowing them to dress in something that they are comfortable in, but you're also protecting their freedom of expression, which in my opinion is one of the most important things, a person's identity. By ensuring that your workforce is satisfied and heard, you're not only boosting morale, but also productivity. Hence, while uniforms do work for a certain crowd, the crowd needn't necessarily be for everyone. So in places where you don't require uniform, it's better not to have them. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tanisha. Up next is Shruti. Shruti, your minute's time starting now.
Thank you. It is a never-ending altercation about the necessity of uniforms in workplaces, and I agree with the stand that they are essential. First, professionalism is brought out only by uniforms. They work as an effective tool and they are a source of advertising of the brand. Whenever you see an employee with a company's particular uniform, you are gently reminded to check their products. And unlike those frequent and slightly annoying customer calls we receive from dutiful workers, this method certainly works better. And just like in schools where uniforms are a must for sense of equality among a whole lot of students, in a workplace, the same sense of equality must prevail among the workers, reducing the inferiority complex between them and thereby improving the productivity. The customer is also given a very good first impression and feels comfortable talking to an employee who shows professionalism in their looks. And finally, for the employee whose schedules are packed between work, life, and balance, uniforms are perks as a lot of time is saved from choosing dresses to earn appreciation from their colleagues. So, uniforms in workplaces certainly will work like a miraculous boon in the life of the company as well as in the life of the workers if established. With this, I rest my case. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Shruti. And completing this round for us is Sanjana Bhatt. Sanjana, your 1 minute of time. Go ahead.
This Republic Day parade saw 3 marching contingents of the Indian Army wearing uniforms from previous decades and 1 contingent the new combat uniform as a part of celebrating the 75th year of India's independence. These uniforms not only instilled pride in them, but also had an imposing effect on others. In much a similar fashion, uniforms in workplaces spell solidarity by virtue of belonging to the organization. They spell uniqueness by virtue of identification. They spell safety by virtue of protection against hazardous materials. But above all, in this potential world of professionalism, from the lowest sector of production to the corporate zone, literally as the name suggests, uniforms spell equality, a trait essential for a person as an individual and an organization as a whole to thrive and prosper. In the land famous for its policy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, uniforms level the playing field because every individual, irrespective of their social status, is treated as a valued member of the team. From this equality arises camaraderie and brotherhood, a step towards Sarve Janaha Sukhino Bhavantu. As Baden-Powell said, the uniform makes for brotherhood, since when universally adopted, it covers up all differences of class and country. Is it any wonder then that we, the people of India, propose to have uniforms at all workplaces? Thank you.
All right, thank you, Sanjana. Ladies and gentlemen, this was their point of view for a minute's time that they got to speak. Now let's see how they debate this topic out for the next 6 minutes. Girls, 6 minutes of time, remember that, and I will not intervene unless and until you cross the time limit that has been given to you, okay? The topic remains the same, 6 minutes of time, go ahead.
A business is not self-centered but has many outgrown branches for better productivity. The working team, resources, and clients need to be constantly interacting for a positive outcome. Today, the outlook of a person is equally important with his or her work, and from education to hospitality, a service provider needs to make a better impression on their clients with all professional standards, even in their attire. In the words of Shakespeare, "For the apparel oft proclaimeth the man." Professionalism is very important in any workplace. Uniforms are synonymous with being presentable and professional and serve as a physical reminder that people are at work. When all personnel are in the right frame of mind and are attentive, the results show. Uniforms are meant to accurately represent a country's brand and its underlying concept. From the customer's viewpoint, employee uniforms are not only a way to let customers see who the service providers are.
While I agree with you that uniforms definitely tend to bring out the professionalism and serve as an active reminder that you're in a workplace, I would argue that just wearing uniform, that is just an exterior clothing, is not the only thing that brings professionalism. I believe that if I ever work at a place, I bring professionalism with the work that I do, with my personality, with my interpersonal skills, the way I handle contradictions and debates, and how I attempt to resolve them. So in my opinion, just an external uniform is not going to bring that about. As I mentioned, setting guidelines in place which ensures that a formal clothing has followed by everyone, everyone's wearing a formal attire, that also instills a sense of professionalism, in my opinion.
Continuing in business sectors involving manufacturing, food services, hospitality, medical care, or lab work, uniforms aid in following the guidelines of safety. Aren't uniforms in these sectors mandatory? The model of these organizations require people who are part of it to be in proper uniform and follow the discipline of the uniform. Wearing scrubs and lab coats protect against spill of body fluids. Tying the hair up in a hairnet eliminates the risk of being entangled inside heavy machinery or finding its way onto a food platter. And of course, no one wants somebody to handle raw meat and cook food with the same gloves. A disheveled employee in ill-fitting clothes reflects negatively on the organization and can communicate to the guests that the operation is careless.
I beg to differ, Sanjana, because you do have a point when you said uniforms are synonymous to professionalism and better work ethics. But they may be synonymous, but not one and the same thing. There are many work fields, such as the army and many other fields, where the Sikhs and the Muslims are allowed to wear turbans and a beard, even if it isn't a part of their uniforms. All the fields that you mentioned, whether while cutting meat, from to labs, or wearing lab coats, they can surely continue to have beards or wearing turbans without being any threat to their work. They are following their work ethics, working with full professionalism, yet they change the uniform slightly. So don't you think that even though a little change in the rules, in the uniforms, while adding the cultures and the integrity, following one's own traditions, can make people better and even happier while being a part of the society?
Clean and very crisp uniforms always promote a brand, and these show your company's standards and values. They portray them very well. And the uniform and the attitude of the employees will be the determining factor of whether the customer can repeat the business with you. It can promote customer loyalty.
I beg to differ, Shruti, here again. You said that it may promote customers' loyalty and may again raising the concept of professionalism that is already raised by Sanjana. But I would like to state that the maximum of the world's biggest multinational companies, including all the new latest companies like sugar, pharmaceuticals, BharatPe, Paytm, Google, CEO, Microsoft, all the CEOs, right from the employees, do not have a specific uniform for every single person. They do have a dress code which everyone sticks with while following their culture, and everyone enjoying their work while following their culture and the rules of the dress code. Yet, not sticking to a crisp and a perfect uniform like coats or any particular uniform that is given by the organization. Again, another point that I would like to raise that not all organizations that stick with the uniforms provide these uniforms to their employees. That means the employees have to go out of their pockets to buy the expensive uniforms if they work in big multinational companies that have uniforms very costly, then that may cost more than their entire wardrobe too, and they have to get it cut from their salary. While the money may be very important for them for the education and the health facilities of their family, so how can the uniforms be more important than the person's lifestyle then?
There are specific industries such as the automobile sector where uniforms are compulsory because they want to bring in uniformity across their offices and manufacturing plants. For instance, Maruti and TVS have a policy on the dress code, and each and every employee of their company, whether a high or low profile one, is required to follow it. It's a well-known fact that even the CEO walks into the TVS factory at Ambattur dressed in his uniform. Little wonder then that TVS is one of India's most successful industries. Adding to that, in large organizations, uniforms come as a blessing in disguise. Apart from avoiding the dilemma of choice every morning and the clock ticking as a corollary, uniforms avoid a massive expenditure on appropriate work clothes. Moreover, when all wear the same attire, minimizing the socio-economic differences will remove the peer pressure of stylish dressing and the pressure to fit in with the right clothing choices. This alleviates mental stress and contributes to better focus on work, leading to enhanced productivity in the long run.
Sanjana, I would like to say that you said that uniforms would help us to remove socio-economic inequalities, but my views clearly differ from that. Socio-economic inequalities are a very wide concept that clearly plain uniforms cannot remove. Socio-economic inequalities are still instilled in the minds of the people, which depends upon money and many other factors. Do you think just wearing uniforms can remove those inequalities? The people, along with their uniforms, may carry expensive iPhones, may carry or come in expensive cars and bikes, and the company will still not do anything against those and or put any restrictions against it. So wearing a uniform maybe, in your opinion, removes the inequalities, but coming in a car, coming with an iPhone with expensive bags and a nice perfume would surely not help any way to remove socio-economic inequalities.
30 seconds more.
Psychologists have coined the term enclothed cognition, which captures the effect clothing has on a person's mental process. It can affect the way we feel, behave, and function in the workplace. The right uniform, one that promotes a positive attitude and supports the employee, can yield measurable benefits for the business. A uniform that helps a worker feel better can increase productivity, and it will indirectly improve the company's profits as well.
As you said, Sanjana, that a uniform is very important, a proper dress is very important, and it affects the mind of a person. So do you think in a company with more than thousands and hundreds of employees, a single cloth or a single uniform for everyone can suit everyone's mind? Can that color appeal to everyone's taste?
Your time is up. I had told you all in the very beginning that I will have to stop you if you go way beyond the time limit that has been given to you. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching India Inside Debate, Young India Speaks, brought to you by Vidyaniketan Group of Institutions. We just completed a firecracker of a debate. I'm sure even you felt the same thing, but now it's time for us to move into the jury round. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, like I mentioned to you in the very beginning, we have some amazing judges joining us here today. Let me introduce them to you. First up, we have Ms. Sharon Daniel. She's the Head Client Engagements at Equitor Value Advisory. Her expertise lies in helping companies achieve bigger and a different future. She currently manages the most demanding team at Equitor, and she's a mechanical engineer who then went on to complete her management degree from MICA. She has worked across diverse industries like media, FMCG, pharmaceuticals, chemicals, infrastructure, manufacturing, and travel. She's an avid trekker and loves to travel in her free time. Sharon, we're so glad that you could make it and join us here today. Thank you so much for being here. Our second judge for the day is Mr. Dharmendra Satpathy. Dharmendra is affectionately known as Dharam to all his colleagues and friends. He is a mechanical engineer and MBA by education and is a prolific content creator on personal finance. He runs a very popular website called nextleveleducation.in. He's credited with having created one of the most endearing financial education mascot of the financial services industry called Professor Simply Simple. He has conducted more than 1,000 investor awareness programs and more than 500 training programs for financial advisors across India. Dharam manages a very popular daily broadcast which reaches 7,000 IFAs countrywide, and most IFAs across India have been touched by Dharam either through his training or his content. He was the marketing head of Tata Mutual Fund for a decade. Dharam has had successful stints in the country's top advertising firms such as Lintas, O&M, and FCB. He has also served international assignments as country manager for Lintas East Africa. Dharam, thank you so much for joining us. I'm sure you had to take time out to be here with us today. Thank you so much for doing that. So both of you, we have 4 contestants here today. Both of you would ask questions to 2 separate individuals. I would request you to stick to 1 question, but of course, if you have a shorter follow-up question, I will, of course, not stop you. So Sharon, would you like to go first? Whom would you want to talk to?
I'll speak to Sanjana.
All right,
Hi, Sanjana.
Yeah, go ahead, Sharon.
Hi, Sanjana. It was really nice listening to you today. So I have one small question. It's a follow-up based on the entire discussion that happened. So you spoke about diversity and how you are a bundle of contradictions when you started off. And later on, you spoke about uniforms and how it helps to have uniform code and people wearing the same thing when they're at work. Do you think that's also a contradiction? How would you look at it? Like, are you able to express yourself and hence the diversity of India? Do you think it's been covered there?
I think India is a significant example of the very statement unity in diversity. So even though we are extremely diverse, we stand united in most issues, and I feel that uniforms will be a great step towards ensuring this unity among different sections of people.
Right. So do you think that diversity will be expressed in when you are wearing uniforms or you're having a uniform kind of code?
Diversity will come together as one when we wear uniforms.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Dharam, go ahead. Whom would you want to talk to?
Yeah, do I have to ask the same question to both the people who I talk to?
No, not at all. Not at all.
Not at all. No? So, Samikya, I would like to ask you.
Sure, sir.
When you spoke about turbans and beard, why did you feel that is uniform? Till the age I am right now, I have never thought of a beard or a turban as uniform. Why have you put them under the uniform thing?
Thank you for your question, sir. So, when I said that our army or any other government officers allow men to wear turbans and beards, and I meant them as uniforms, I wanted to say that every other person is required to be clean shaven and with an army cut and short hair. So the uniform is not just about a dress, but it's about the overall uniformity of a person, right from the hairstyle to the face to the dress to the shoes. And only wearing a dress while having spikes on the head and heels on the foot wouldn't be considered as completely uniform outfit. Also, I would like to say that uniforms are important, but howsoever, being tangible in such rules is also important, like our government does for the Sikhs, Muslims, and many other such communities. Because you cannot force a person to abide by the rules, because force sometimes tends to become overburdened, tends to make people feel overburdened. So this is why our government is tangible in these rules, thereby maintaining uniforms as well as maintaining people's feelings towards their culture and tradition. Thank you, sir.
Can I ask her further?
Go ahead, Dharam, no problem.
So, Samikya, so, the fact that when you said uniform, don't you think it's an assumption that a beard has to be cut and you have to be clean shaven? Can't there be a little bit of flexibility in uniformity? I mean, I have seen people wearing uniforms in all companies, in schools, even in corporations. They wear a uniform, they wear clothes, which is of similar attire, I think it largely, you can say you don't cross limits in growing your hair too much or doing something which is outlandish. But otherwise, don't you think there is a space for flexibility in uniformity? Is it one way or the other all the time?
Sir, as you said in the beginning of the question, that it is an assumption that the uniform is supposed to be a dress or a cloth. You told yourself that it's an assumption, which clearly proves that there is a taboo in the minds of people that uniform just means wearing a particular coat and a pant, which is not at all it. Also, you asked me about whether uniform requires flexibility, which I would surely support, and I already did in my speech, that flexibility is always important. No particular rule or word in this world can last forever. Therefore, our constitution keeps on making amends in several routes. Rules are like writings on the sand, and they get removed by the water over and again. And hence, the rules needs to keep changing and making people feel more comfortable and better, and also abiding by discipline. Just like I mentioned in my speech about the example of a kite, when a kite is held by a flyer, then the kite breaks off, then it can travel on its own. But if the flyer holds the kite too strong, then also it can break. So a flyer needs to hold the kite, but allow the kite to fly according to the wind and its motion, not applying excessive force, yet holding the string strong in his hand. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dharam. Sharon, whom would you want to speak to? We have Tanisha and Shruti remaining.
Yeah. Hi, Tanisha. I'd like to ask you a question. Thanks a lot for the points that you made. I was very curious about the good health that you spoke about and how you linked it to productivity, right, in the adult world. So my question is specifically as a student and as someone who is still in the universe of school and working with people who are, and having people who are below the age of 18, and you spoke about being a leader and how you want to be a leader. How do you see yourself as a leader, if you had to, in your particular space or your school, being able to lead good health and initiatives around that for people around you in your age group?
Thank you, ma'am, for the question. Well, that's a really good question. As a student, I know that not just me, but also my friends, because we're in the 11th grade, and 11th grade, is a huge jump from the 10th. And it's really taxing for us with the amount of studies that we have. So I feel there are ways to like make us relax, and which it'll give us time to regain our calm and peace. And this can be done in many ways for people my age. This can be spending time with my friends, my family, and spending time with your pets is something I greatly advocate. Usually, my mother and I, as I mentioned, we help in the rescue and adoption of indie dogs. And spending time with dogs is such an important thing. I feel, and every single person that I meet, I tell them that you should definitely spend time with pets because it's so cathartic. Besides those, I'm sure there are many people who do not feel the same about animals. To those, I would say that taking a walk out in the nature, just 20 minutes, 15, 20 minutes, just walk out in the sun, breathing the fresh air, it can make all the difference. Or if not that, few people love exercising, playing music, and this can be any kind of exercising, running, cycling, or even just walking out, brisk walking with your friends. It can do wonders. So I feel that people my age, we're constantly stuck glued to our screens and sitting in one place, all thanks to the lockdown. But if we took out some time consciously every single day to do things we love, it can be hobbies or spend time outside, do something physical, that would be great, and it would really bring about a great difference.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Dharam, that leaves you with Shruti.
Yeah, so Shruti, I just want to ask you the very similar kind of question that I asked previously. Do you think this entire debate on uniform in workplace, do you think there is some space for uniform in certain contexts and not being in uniform in a different context? Because workspace is a huge area. I mean, you have different kinds of jobs, different kinds of professions. There are factories, there are corporates. So do you feel that in some areas there is space for uniform? Or should we also look at it a bit from that perspective? I'm again bringing that flexibility in uniform as an aspect to this discussion. Or do we need to be rigid about it?
Sir, uniform is basically for equality. So in every workplace, if there is equality, the productivity will certainly increase. So if they have uniforms, it is better.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much, Dharam. Sharon and Dharam, both of you, thank you so much for taking time out and joining us here today for this semi-final. I think some of the questions were really picking the brains of our semi-finalists here today. Thank you so much for being here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, you have been watching the India Inside Debate Young India Speaks, brought to you by Vidyaniketan Group of Institutions. We've just completed the third semi-final. There is one more to go. So you don't go anywhere. Ensure that you watch all of them. Believe me, each one of them is more interesting than the other one. And the winner of the India Inside Debate Young India Speaks semi-final 3 is Sanjana Bhatt from Padma Seshadri Bal Bhavan, Chennai. This is Rashmi Furtado signing off, and I will see you in the fourth semi-final. You take care.